CJ the DJ.
Oh,
what's going on, my brother?
I'm all good, thank you, man. How are you guys doing? You guys good?
Not too bad.
Surviving the apocalypse, bruv. That seems to be my answer for everything at the moment.
You guys seem very energetic right now. I feel like I need to step up my energy levels.
Bro, 5 minutes before this went live, I just rolled out of bed, bro.
I was about to say, Stylus was in bed 15 minutes ago.
I said to Dubl, I said, can we make this a bit later? Because at 11 o'clock on a Monday, I'm not moving too great.
I was thinking that, to be fair, when Dubl was like, yeah, we're going to start at midday on Monday, instinctively my head went to, that's way too early. But then it was like, I'm not doing anything, so why is it too early?
Yeah. Do you think we've been brainwashed as DJs to think that 12 o'clock, 11 a.m. is like too early?
No, legitimately, when I was in my heyday, aka pre-COVID, yeah, I never really took any meetings before 4 p.m. That would be like the earliest I would ever, in my head, think I would need to go and have a meeting. But yeah, now it's just, yeah, it's whatever.
Before 4 p.m. That's late, that, bro. That
was like a nice time for me when I'm like, all right, cool, starting my day, I'm ready to go now. But then bear in mind, it would normally be after a night of coming back to my house at like 4 o'clock in the morning anyway. So
I hear that. I think DJs take a bit longer to actually wake up and function in a day as well. I take a couple hours at least, bro. A couple hours at least. I need a couple coffees.
But if you think about it, we do run on the same timetable as everyone else, just at a different time of the day. When you see when we're having lunch or breakfast, at like midday, that's most people's 6:30, 7 in the morning.
Yeah,
I hear that. That's fair.
And then they 6:30 in the morning, they're having breakfast. 8:30, 9 o'clock, they're getting to work. So it's not unreasonable to be starting work at like 2 p.m., 3 p.m.
Yo, Dubl, you actually get up on time. You're nice and spritey, right?
I've been forced to it though. Ever since. No.
Not by choice.
No, absolutely not, bro. You think I want to be starting my day at 7 o'clock in the morning? You're mad. But ever since they opened the schools again, that's it. I'm on daddy duty, getting up at 7, get my son ready for school, and take him there.
Yeah, I quite like the early starts, to be fair. Yeah, since we've been in lockdown, like I'm enjoying this routine of like waking up at like 7, half 7 in the morning. I just feel like I've just got way more to my day than I had before. Even if I was like, spending the day later on, yeah, waking up early, I feel like, I don't know, it's weird because everyone else is up, but in my head mentally, I'm like, no one else is up, so I can get some stuff done. And I'm like,
feels like he's getting ahead of the race.
A little bit, yeah, but like, I'm just being ignorant to the fact that other people have been doing this for like ever. So, yeah.
I feel like for once DJs have a little bit of a sense of normality when it comes to actually getting up and doing like what the normal 9-to-5ers are doing in regards to getting up at 7, 8 in the morning and having a reasonable bedtime.
Yeah, when lockdown ends and we're kind of back to whatever the new version of normality is, I'm definitely gonna miss the early nights and the early rises and just having a routine, man. Like it's the first time I've ever had a very consistent routine in my life.
Okay, are you sticking to it, bruv? Are you like on this fit? Are you on a bit of a fitness wave, eating healthy, all that kind of stuff?
Do you know what? To be fair, for the past couple of years, actually, I've been taking my fitness and my health just a little bit more serious.
Okay.
Then this year, I really kicked into it. I started doing like the intermittent fasting. I started doing water fasts as well.
Okay.
So I've been hitting the gym like every day. Like outside of lockdown, like when the gyms aren't able to be open, I've been in the gym every day.
Sick. Yeah, that's proper.
You been doing any home workouts like during lockdown?
Yeah, well, I have to now because the gyms are closed up until I think Wednesday they open up.
You kept up with it, yeah?
Yeah. Picked up skipping. I really enjoy that.
Sick. I love skipping.
Doing a lot more running.
More space then. I love skipping.
I do, bro. Honestly,
such a child.
Skipping is so much more fun than running and cycling. Like I did a lot of running previously, and I can't stand running now. I used to get back from the clubs, put my running shoes on, and boom, hit 2-3 mile run. And
after the club?
After the clubs, yeah. Because I mean, okay, so I'm talking probably 8-9 years ago. So I'd get back from the club. I'd be so like tanked up on Red Bull. I'd have the energy anyway. And then instead of sitting and watching something to wind down,
Props.
I'd running shoes on, boom, 3-mile run. So, and then go to bed.
Were you drinking at the club too?
Say again?
Were you drinking?
No. No, because I didn't really drink that much in my clubs. The only times I would ever drink until, shut up, Stylus. Until recently, yes, I know. But
Dubl's done it backwards. CJ, he's enjoying the drinking and the turning up a little bit later in life.
my young DJ life, I would very rarely drink in the club, mostly because I was driving everywhere. And I didn't live anywhere near any of the clubs I was playing at. So no, stay completely sober and then drive back. Unless if I was doing like a guest set somewhere and they had a hotel for me, or if I was doing an overseas set, then I'm getting turned. But
that's the way you should do it. If you're driving, definitely don't drink. But if you have the ability to do it, I always found my DJ sets were just a little bit more fun when I was way more intoxicated.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Definitely. Yeah, I think from what was it? Probably.
Why is that though, man? Like, do you reckon it's just kind of loosens you up a little bit? Like, I feel like my trail of thought runs a lot smoother if I'm a little bit loose on the liquor in regards to like getting through records and connecting. I don't know, man. I feel like my set just runs a lot better on liquor.
DJing sober, I feel like you're thinking about too many things. So like, although you're in the club and you're playing music, I don't know, there may be a part of your brain that might be like, oh, did I pay that bill I was supposed to pay? Or did I, something that's completely away from what you're actually meant to be doing. Whereas I think if you start to drink a little bit, your focus just narrows into, I'm just here to have a good time.
Yeah.
And then I feel like the closer you get to the line of being way too drunk is the perfect place you need to be in the club, because I've done that many a time where I've overstepped it and I've just like, I don't know what I'm doing now.
I believe the technical term for that is called G2ing. The line, I think the name for that line is a G2.
I think I've been there, but I've definitely been there a couple of times. But that's the thing. There's a fine line between like you're nice, but then if you step like that extra little yard, it becomes a bit messy. And I've had times where I've had to check my Serato the next day, and I'm like, I went from that to that. This one's at like 70 BPM. The next record's at like 115. I'm like, okay.
That's one of the best things about drunk DJing, though, is when you wake up the next day and you're like, what did I play? Checking the track list of what you played and like, I cannot believe that I brought that one out the bag. Like, but then in my head, when I think about, oh yeah, I did. And it always worked. I don't remember ever DJing and thinking, oh yeah, that flopped.
Yeah, it's because you're not really taking it in, man. You're not taking the crowd in like that when you're liquored. You just end up getting gassed.
You have that feeling of the uncertainty of playing certain songs. And it's like, will this work? Will it not work? And if it does work, great. And then it's like, all right, cool, I tried it and it happened. But then if it doesn't work, it's that challenge of, all right, how do I now get back into you guys like actually realizing that I'm actually a good DJ as opposed to someone who's just being a bit shit tonight.
Yeah. Relatable. But I think, when you're drunk, that filter goes out the window.
100%.
It does for me anyway. I'm just like, you know what? I'm playing the shit that I love to play. Like, not even considering, if I play this, it could actually like really kill off the set.
Sometimes I feel like we doubt our own music taste, because in those instances where you think, wow, do you know what? Let me go off on a tangent. Let me play for myself for a minute. You don't realize that there are people in the club that actually enjoy what you enjoy. And it's a pleasant surprise when you go off the top 40. I'm supposed to play X amount of Drake songs. I'm supposed to play this gig record. Sometimes when you go off on a bit of a tangent, and it might be something that's a little bit older or something that's like super new, but you're like, I really like this, and I'm just in the mindset where I'm going to play it right now. You'll be surprised that a lot of people are actually there like, oh shit, this DJ actually, I like it.
When someone acknowledges that, that's up there probably as one of the best moments to have as a club DJ. When you're throwing in like a bit of a left-handed record that no one expects, you don't think anyone's going to know it, and you just, I just want to hear it, so I'm chucking it in. And then at least one person's like, yo, this is sick. That's
unique. That legitimizes everything. Just that one person. If you look out and everyone else has kind of stood still, and they're like, what's going on? But you've got like one person in the corner who's like...
That makes it okay, man.
Yeah, because I may have kind of confused everyone else, but that one person is going to go away and be like, hey, the DJ played that song, you know? And
yeah. It's that one connection makes it all valid.
I feel like that's where the alcohol contributes in a positive way, because like you say, you flick through your records, and you might be like, oh, I don't know about that one. I might skip that one. I'll play that another time. But when the drink's in you, I'll just be throwing them out there. You just kind of trial and test them. You're not really overthinking it too much.
At the same time, you got to make it interesting for yourself. Like, we've all DJ'd for a very long time now, and it's very easy to get into autopilot where it's like, all right,
100%.
I know exactly what you want to hear, and I know how you want to hear it, and I can play it. And, you know, if you're doing like 4 or 5 gigs a night and it's a similar crowd, like, you could easily just take that one set and spread it across, and it's fine, and everyone's going to enjoy themselves. But ultimately, you as a DJ, what are you taking away from this experience? Because at the same time, yeah, you want to give the crowd a good night, but at the same time, you want to say, I really did something special tonight.
Mm-hmm. Especially, you know what makes it harder as well, because all 3 of us are in a position where we go to different parts of the country and play in different clubs. And it's interesting to see the regional difference as well with what the crowds are messing with. So having that same mentality of stepping away from like what the expected set and still being able to pull those like weird tunes and make it work. Like when you can do that in a different town as well, that's a sick thing.
Yeah, true stories.
At the same time, you've also like, there's a reason why you're in a different town. It's not because they just need to fill a gap. It's like, no, we really want Stylist to come here. We really want Dubl to come here. And if you go there and essentially play what the residents are playing, what's the point of you being there?
Exactly.
Yeah. You might as well, listen, even if you go there and you take a gamble and you're like, fuck it, you know what, I'm going to play this, and you go off on that tangent. At the very least, you've just made a difference to the night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Going there and being like, listen, I know what you play, Stylist. I see on IGTV you're playing the same things that I'm pretty much playing, so I kind of got a gauge as to what you want to do. But it's those moments where you just do something different, where it's like, all right, cool, you know.
Going back to that comment you just said about DJs going into autopilot, like, do you think with the clubs being closed for so long now, when it comes to hopefully us going back and playing out, do you think DJs will be more willing to step outside the box with the sets and that kind of a little bit of a reset, if you like? Like, how do you think people are going to approach it?
I'd hope so. I mean, here's the thing with lockdown, if we don't come out of this slightly different to how we went into it, then it's a bit of a pointless task. I mean, yeah, obviously the reason for lockdown is to save lives, etc. But as a DJ or a creative, I feel like it's given us a lot more time than we've ever had in our lives to really sit back and, yeah, hone your craft a little bit. So if over this period you have fallen back in love with some of the music that you liked as a fan of music, as opposed to being in the music industry, and then you can kind of bring that into the live world. Yeah, 100%. I would like to think that people will do that.
Yeah, I hope so, man. I feel like I definitely went back to the music that I felt what kind of made me fall in love with DJing in the first place. I kind of went back to it, and when you're playing out so much, you don't really get the practice hours like you do, but not like, do you know what I mean? You might flip the decks on for an hour or two, but now you've got like days to burn where you can actually be in the studio and just be, you know what I mean? Like you say, honing your craft and putting in the groundwork again.
I was definitely guilty of writing off practice hours.
Same.
Because I was in the club and I was like,
yeah,
that's my practice, but that shouldn't be my practice. That should be my performance. And there would be a lot of times where I would consciously think, right, I need to do something to kind of make this, a lot more interesting for me at the same time. So sometimes my practicing, my gambles in my practicing in front of a crowd sometimes would be great, sometimes wouldn't be great. But because I wasn't putting in the effort outside of that, if that makes sense.
I think that's something that a lot of us do when we reach the level that we're at and we're playing out so often and the hobby is fully the career. Like in the daytime, I think a lot of us do neglect the fact that we should be in the studio, on the decks, training and mucking about a bit. Because you got to think, all the top athletes, They don't just play when you see them in the stadiums.
They just turn up on the day and do a quick 100-meter sprint.
No, exactly. They're out there. The football players.
We're not setting a good example, guys.
Everybody is doing training when they're at the top of their game. So it's actually, it's funny that that's part of the conversation, because when it comes to us, we reach our level and the practice hours stop because we do it in the club. But that's definitely the wrong mentality. 100%. Because I would say, going off of my experience, whenever a young DJ is like, how did you get started? Like, what did you do to get into it? The first thing I tell them is I practiced relentlessly in my bedroom. I would get home from school and switch the decks on, and I would be mixing and practicing, scratching and doing all the stuff that I wanted to learn to do until my mum told me it was dinner time. Then after dinner, I'd have a little bit before I then go to bed. Do you know what I mean? And like, that was the practice that got me to the stage where I could begin playing in clubs. Mm-hmm. Like, I think, I feel like that's kind of definitely missing.
Yeah, so I did something very similar in the sense where all my time I started to get into DJing was about being in the bedroom and practicing, and my only goal at that time was one day I'm going to be DJing either with Shorty Blitz or in front of Shorty Blitz, and I just need him to acknowledge that I'm good. If I get to that stage, then I'll be very happy. So in my head, that was my goal. So all the hours I spent in the bedroom was just like, I hope Shorty likes this. I really hope he likes it.
Why Shorty?
I love that. I love that.
Where did that inspiration come from there?
Well, just being an amazing DJ, I grew up on Shorty Blitz. So like anything he was doing on the radio, or when I had the opportunity to go to a club where he was DJing at, I was just in awe because I felt like Shorty captured every single essence that I felt a great DJ should have, which is like song selection, technical ability, great on the microphone, and just extremely clean and tight with everything that he does.
Sick.
In the clubs, he'd obviously play to the crowd, but then he'd throw in a couple of like songs that I felt were, oh wow, I didn't expect that, but it's great that you went off on this tangent. And for me, Shorty's always been the bar of, you're just the guy who I want to be like one day. And then like one day I did get to meet Shorty. And I
was gonna say, you and Shorty are homies now, right?
Well, this is what's weird to me still, because
that's amazing, man.
I'm having conversations with Shorty, like either on text or face to face, and I know words are coming out of my mouth, but in my head I'm like, shit, I'm talking to Shorty. No, still to this day, whenever I have a conversation with Shorty, in my head I'm like, I can't believe I'm speaking to Shorty Blitz.
Bruv, I have exactly the same thing. Like, he was a huge inspiration. Like, we had him on the podcast, like 6?
Eight weeks ago? Double fanboyed him completely.
I can't remember. No. You know what it is? He asked the question about who inspired us, and for me, he was the inspiration. Like, it was one of his compilation mixes, the hip hop compilation mixes that he put out. I don't remember which label it was with or which company, but there was a scratch routine that he did in there that I heard, and I was like, I need to know how to do that. So I used his recording as the blueprint for my very first scratch, like not really a routine, but the first scratch patterns that I ever did were Shorty Blitz scratch patterns. And I remember, a guy who used to mentor me in Brighton happened to be very good friends with Shorty. And I remember the very first time I met Shorty, he probably doesn't remember this because it was just insignificant for him. But it was literally just, he was just bucking a friend for some lunch in London, but I happened to be invited. And for me, like that moment there, I remember it so vividly. Bruv, I think that's the most starstruck I've ever been. And like, I've shaken hands with some very famous people now. Do you know what I mean?
All right.
No. I remember that moment so specifically. Like, my head was just gone crazy. And same with you, CJ. Like, I have him in my phone. Like, we text, we'll talk on the phone. Like, and it's still inside my head. It's like, I'm speaking with Shorty Blitz. Like, this is sick.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, that's dope. Big up Shorty Blitz.
Yeah, and he's still active, man. And he's still like represented, and he hasn't missed a beat, man. Like,
No.
he's still the guy.
Yeah, he is. How did you actually get into DJing, like, in general, CJ? Like, how did you pick up the music thing? I know you've always been in music, whether it's like working with the labels or the radio. Like, how did this whole like journey start for you, man?
At the very core of my DJ life, it was through my older brother who managed to get a pair of belt-driven turntables.
The belt drives, way.
The belt drives, yes.
Boy.
I believe off the top of my head, I think they were called Omnitronics. I've never ever seen a pair ever since he had them. He's heavily into drum and bass. So in Croydon, where born and raised, there's like a whole bunch of record shops around, and he used to just go out, pick up some drum and bass, come back, mix them, and I could hear it around the house, but like he never wanted me around when he was doing it. So whenever he was out of the house is when I would sneak into his room and just like play the music really quiet. And yeah, I just honed my skills, like just started on drum and bass, and then eventually after he stopped beating me up for trying to he was like, that's cool, yeah, you can use it. So then I started to buy my own music, but I was always into hip hop, so I used to buy hip hop and then bring it back, and then I'd kind of mix between the two. So I'd go drum and bass into hip hop, blah 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 blah. And yeah, that was where it started. Drum
and bass, on the off, yeah, that's mad.
In there.
Oh, shit, no joking. No, that's proper, man. So how from then and playing at home and just using the brothers' turntables, like what was the moves from there? Like, how did you end up becoming CJ Beatz? Like, where
the what was the game changer? I suppose. So I went to sixth form college, which didn't work out for me. Because in my head I was like, that's just what you're supposed to do. You leave school, go sixth form, get some A levels. So I did that for a year, and then a friend of mine who went to my school popped in and was like, oh, I'll go to South Thames College and I'm doing like a music diploma. And I was like, oh, you can actually do a qualification in music. You can. So I went to South Thames just to go and check it out, realized that they were doing this course and I could be a part of it the following year. So I went back and told my mum and dad, and I was like, listen, I know I'm doing A-level stuff. I don't think it's working. I really want to get into music. I feel like this is a good stepping stone for that. Can I apply? And they were like, do you know what? The fact that you've taken your initiative and you've already gone and checked it out and you've brought back all the information that you need, you know what? Just give it a go, see what happens. So I went there, started doing this music technology course, and the guys that I was with, one of them was friends with Bashi at the time, and he was just like, oh, Bashi is going on tour with Lethal B. Would you like to be his DJ? And I was like,
okay.
Of course. Well, I'd love so yeah, that was pretty much it. Like, started to do the shows with Bashi, and through that just completely opened up my network and my relationships. And off the back of that, I was just able to maintain my own friendships and create my own little network, and I kind of just evolved into kind of where we are today.
Straight, that's sick, man. Like, it's literally straight from college, and then Bashi kind of bringing you under his wing a little bit.
Yeah, pretty much, man. I mean, by that time, I mean, I'm skipping over a whole bunch of stuff, but ultimately, I'd already started to do mixtapes, which is why when Bashi's cousin actually wanted a DJ, he already had my mixtape, so he knew.
Okay, sick.
And I spoke to him a few times before, and I was like, "Oh, I'd love to do a mixtape for Bashi." This is after Chopper Chops.
Wow, that is a flashback.
Because at the time, I felt like the artists that were doing mixtapes, like none of them were DJ based, and I like the mixtapes coming out of America, because you had the from the Green Lantern and the Clues, who were doing mixtapes for artists, but they were based around the DJ was creating it and putting it together. So I felt that was missing from the UK scene. In my head, I was like, right, if I can get a UK artist to do a mixtape with, that would be, one, great for the culture, and two, would be great for me. So that's where the conversation even started with Bashy. And then, yeah, ultimately ended up on the road with him. And then we ended up doing a mixtape together called Bashy.com. And yeah, that was just a catalyst that kind of exploded.
That whole DJ mixtape culture.
I was about to ask this, but you're gonna jump in.
No, the UK scene, man. I feel like we really skipped that chapter. I feel like because of how the UK scene grew up and blew up, it sort of skipped the DJ mixtape culture, and it's jumped straight to streaming and Spotify and that now. Like I feel like previously, and especially if you look at the American side of it, so like Gangsta Grills, like DJ Drama and that, a lot of the artists, not the top tier ones he put on, but they would use a DJ Drama mixtape as their first project, like their introduction to the scene. And then they would go from there. But we never really had that in the UK. And I'm gutted. That's something I definitely wanted to do as well.
Yeah, we have. I think we've had a few over the years. I know Semtex has done a Dizzy Rascal mixtape. Mm-hmm. I know the Twins did that Split Mics mixtape, which essentially introduced the whole of East London to the record.
I didn't know that one. The Semtex and Dizzy Rascal one was more about Dizzy Rascal kind of just done by Semtex though, wasn't it? It wasn't like, or that was my perception of it anyway. It didn't elevate Semtex to where if it was an American project that it would have. Does that make sense? It wasn't like a thing that really, really put Semtex out there like that. It was more beneficial to
like the DJs. I suppose, especially within the rapper community, I suppose Charlie has made it important to mess with the DJs. I know the artists were messing with DJs prior to Charlie, but I feel like the Fire and the Boost definitely made artists more aware that, oh, we need to go and tick this box before we can move on and do X, Y, and Z. So obviously since Charlie, I know Kenny Allstar's doing his thing with artists. So I feel like it's there, but yeah, you're right. In terms of the impact that once upon a time, especially in New York, the DJs held the key to breaking artists via mixtapes, which we didn't necessarily have. But then, is it a good or a bad thing? Because then the artists kind of were breaking themselves with their mixtapes. They didn't necessarily need a DJ. It would have been nice to have a good DJ curate some of these mixtapes. It made it a little bit more of an interesting listen to us, but maybe the general public didn't really care about that. So who's to say what's right and wrong?
Yeah, I feel like
we are. That's why we're here. We say what's right and wrong.
I've seen a few interesting debates about this week in regards to like DJs not like even back in, I feel like DJs used to get a lot more of the exclusives. Do you know what I mean? There was a lot more emphasis on like the DJ like in itself. I feel like that has kind of, I don't know, man. I don't know whether it's to do with streaming or artists will just push their own, like they'll push their stuff straight out through Spotify and whatever. And we're kind of just like, we used to be so integral to it, and now I just feel like we're not there. We're not like in that bag like as much as we are. Like, why do you think that is, man?
The game's changed. So the way songs are released now, there's no build up. There's no it's kind of instant. Like the song's out on Friday, and then it's out everywhere. It's out on Spotify, Apple, iTunes. You can buy it.
They don't need us anymore.
No, I don't think they do. I don't think they do. Go on, CJ. You fill the gap.
No, the DJs are still needed because, well, do you know what's interesting? Is like over this lockdown period is watching how certain songs lose momentum very quickly because the general public aren't outside to listen to music and consume it in the way that we normally would. So, for example, if every Friday I always check and see what's out, and I hear a song and I'm like, yeah, it's cool. But I know for a fact if I hear that same song, you know, if I'm out shopping or if I'm in a bar or if I'm in a club, that song just sounds different. Like 100. For example, I feel like the Drake and Dirk song, that at the time it came out, if the clubs were open, huge.
Like,
been another God's plan. You can already see how people will sing along to it. But I feel like because none of us are in the club, that song kind of existed, but then quickly went away.
That's true. That record died pretty quick, and by Drake standards, that doesn't really happen too much.
Baby.
But I feel like that's the same with every song that's kind of been released over lockdown. And I know I do speak to some of the guys and labels, and they've purposely held back on releasing songs during time because they know for a fact the impact that they're going to get off of it isn't going to be the same as if we were in a situation where we can have, you know, clubs and people going out and doing shows, because we as human beings, we just receive music differently depending on the environment we're in.
True. These artists are stuck in the heat, bro. They're holding the heaters.
But you see, the way I see it as well, and actually that's a really good point. I feel like the club DJs and the club environment is definitely fundamental part of the lifespan for a song. Without a doubt, I definitely agree there. But if you look at the flip side of it, I don't feel like in the online or on-air world, the DJs are as important anymore. If you look at like 15 years ago, for example, if an artist from the US, not even an artist from the US, if an artist from the UK wanted to break a song, who are they going to send it to? Who are they going to take it to? They're taking it to Westwood. And he's going to play it on the show. Do you know what I mean? And it's specific. There wasn't like I know because social media obviously wasn't as prominent back then, but it wasn't even, go to my MySpace at 7 p.m. and check it out, where all the artists were putting all of their new music, right? It wasn't even like go to my MySpace, it was send it to Westwood, or like after that, send it to Centex. And then when Charlie Sloth became doing his One Extra stuff, send it to Charlie Sloth. And like when you were on One Extra as well, CJ, for example, I know I've listened to your song and your show, and you had bare exclusives on there as well. And like that era, I feel like the artists were breaking their songs via radio, because it was listen to it on One Extra at this specific time, and then afterwards, that's when you start telling them where they can get it, how they can buy it and stuff. Whereas now it's like, check out my channel at 7 p.m. or check out my Spotify at 7 p.m. They kind of bypass any online personality or any. They do send it to the One Extras and all that, but that's not the focus. That's just like an afterthought, because they want to have the video to get the numbers, or the Spotify to get all the numbers. And that's where I think the DJs are being cut out of the chain, because the artists can just reach the fans directly. I
mean, I feel like there's a couple of things that should be unpacked from that. One is when I was at radio, the main thing that everyone used to tell me like that worked in radio was no one cares who plays it first. So when I would get upset, oh, this person's played the song, I should have played that first, or blah, 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 blah. The producers would always tell me, listen, no one cares, but if you support the record,
no one cares.
But generally, they were like, the general public do not care who played the song first. And I mean, us as DJs, we're always looking at everything under a microscope. So in our heads, oh, Mr. Jam played that song first, or Westwood played that song first, or Annie Mac played that song first. Whereas if you speak to, you know, Stephen and Tracy, who just like going to the club, and say, where did you hear this song first? I don't know. Like, they don't even recall the first time hearing certain songs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there was that. But then, yeah, to discuss the point about DJs being bypassed, is it a product of the DJ being overlooked, or is it a product of, one, the game changing, and two, maybe radio not being as relevant as it once was?
I was about to say,
I think it's all of them factors. I think it's all of it.
I think it's the music that's so readily available now with Spotify and stuff. Like, everything is there at the click of a button, so they don't need to go and hold tight for said DJ to give it an exclusive play. Like, I feel like the art of the exclusive has kind of disappeared with the advancement of tech and where the music game is now, man. Like, we're living we're in the future right now, bruv.
Yeah, again, but radio is great for sustaining the lifespan of a song, because, you know, they add it to their playlist, and then it grows in that. And don't get it twisted, like, radio still has a massive impact on how big a song can be. You know, if Radio 1 playlist your song, chances are that song's going to do incredibly well. If your song's on a Capital playlist, then yeah, your song is already doing really well, and Capital are just going to continue battering this song. But in terms of does Capital need to break the song first? No. Does Radio 1 need to play the song first? No, not really, because the consumer, I prefer it this way, because as opposed to being told what you're supposed to like, because once upon a time, that's what radio was. Radio would be, you should like this song and we're going to play it. And
18 times a day.
Yeah. Whereas now it's like, but you see it in the clubs, like sometimes people ask me for songs in the clubs and I genuinely have never heard this song, but I will go back and I'll get it and then I'll play it, and then it's a huge reaction. And it's interesting for me because I'm like, all right, I may have never heard this, but clearly people do like this song. And they've gone out to find it themselves and they've sought after it. So I kind of like the fact that the power is with the people in terms of how big a song can be.
Yeah,
I feel like... Go on, Dubs. No, go on, mate. I'm plugging the heater in because it's bloody freezing in here today.
It's crazy how the fans and the listeners and the people in the club and that consume music differently now to how us as DJs. I feel like it's a mission just keeping up with how to listen to music, let alone what music to listen to, and keep up on just how, like, because you've got stuff that you've got Spotify, and then you've got to find every single different artist that's going to be popping on Spotify. But then there might be other ones that aren't as prominent on Spotify, but they're slapping on YouTube, for example. Like I know a lot of the drill songs that come out on YouTube do massive numbers, not so much on Spotify. Like there's a huge fan base over there. So it's like keeping all the different platforms there as well, and having all of that on top of all the emails that we get and the record pulls, and like, bruv, it's a mission. I think it's impossible now for a DJ, even like a DJ that's specific to certain genres, to keep up with everything that's hot in that genre. I think it's impossible now.
Spotify have opened the floodgates, man. Like these streaming platforms, anyone can just plan their own release, isn't it? It's not like how it used to be where you had to build a full campaign. People can just release their own stuff. It's impossible to stay on top of it, man. It's impossible.
I mean, the only thing I would always do consciously pre-lockdown is I would make a point of going to the club when I wasn't DJing, just to go and check out what other DJs are playing, call it market research, if you will. But it was important for me just because I know for a fact that sometimes I might go and DJ and I'm going to do my set, but then I need to shoot off, or I may not get a chance to get there a bit earlier and hear, another DJ play. But also at the same time, if I'm doing main set, I've kind of got my main set routine or set down. And it's always good to hear someone else do it, because then I can always, like, for example, I'll go and check Cable or whoever's DJing just to hear what they're doing. So then I know, oh shit, I should be playing that song. Why don't I have that song? Why don't I even know that song? And for me, that was my gauge as to how I can stay on top of the things that I should be playing.
I feel like that's amazing part of DJ, man. Like watching and seeing other DJs playing how their like trailer thought works in regards to like the songs they're playing, and you'd be like, bro, how have I not thought to play this song or that song? And you realize how many things you actually forget. There's just so much.
And you need to go there without the ego as well. Like the amount of times I've seen other DJs come to the club and they're not DJing, which is great. You should be there, but like they'll go to the DJ and then they'll start telling the DJ what they should be playing. Don't you tell. But listen, if the other DJ is,
I hear you.
Then let them fail miserably. That's a lesson they're going to learn. But if then let them kill it, and you can learn from that. What you want to learn from it. But if you go to the club with your ego and thinking, no, if I was DJing right now, this is what you should be playing.
Yeah.
I think that's just the wrong approach, man. Because you're never ever going to learn.
Yeah, it's a hugely important thing to do as a DJ, is go and check other DJ sets. And you know what? For probably the last year, I'm guilty of not doing it. Obviously not this year.
It's not been a good year for it, mate. I don't think you...
I'm not talking about this year. I'm talking about pre-lockdown. For probably a year, I would say I haven't actively gone out of my way and gone and checked. I've probably done it like 2-3 times in a year before COVID lockdown and that. But no, you're right, because I'll hear a certain song and I might listen to it on a Friday when it lands in my email, and I might not be in a great mood. So I listen to it and I'm like, I don't really like it. But then that weekend I hear someone play it out and it absolutely slaps and everyone goes sick. And then I've already binned the song off. I'm never playing that because I don't like it. But now I've heard it in a club environment. Oh, bruv, you know what song it was? You lot are going to kill me for saying this as well. What's the 6ix9ine's track? The first one that came out, that absolutely sick beat.
I'm not a 6ix9ine guy, bro. Can't help you there, Dubs.
The first 6ix9ine song that came out, I thought was so dead, and I binned it off. And then I was in Amsterdam, and the DJ in Amsterdam played it in the club, and I heard it in completely different surroundings. I was pretty waved as well, I'm not going to lie. But hearing it with the club speakers, the whole club went off, and I was listening to the beat as well. Do you know what I mean? And you know, in those, like that experience, when you hear a song differently, and it was just like, shit, I've really overlooked this song.
You've missed on there.
My first set back in the UK, I played it, and the club went mad, like absolutely sick. And obviously, like, I'm not a 6ix9ine fan, but that's a perfect example of binning a song off that I didn't like, and then hearing someone else play it, and I thought it slapped.
Yeah, because it's just the environment. The environments change everything about your perception of music, man.
Massively.
I feel like whenever I've hit like a bit of a brain block in regards to like my mixing and stuff, going out and listening to other DJs is normally what inspires me to want to go back in the studio and turn the decks on. Like if I hear like a dope mix or a super slick transition, I'm like, bro, I need to go. Like it makes me want to go and put the more of the hours in. You know what I mean? Yeah. Even you, CJ, I remember you used to come do jam back in the day, but like, boy, I better go. He's gonna put some work in, cuz.
That was an amazing night in Manchester, and like the legend of jam before I even got to Manchester was like incredible, and I had no idea what I was walking into, and you guys definitely curated something that was extremely special.
Thank you, brother.
Again, going back to the point of being G2'd, like
I remember being with you outside the club a couple of times, 5 a.m.s. It's a bit dizzy.
Listen, I remember
great times, man.
Thankfully, I had a driver at some of the times I came to jam, because I don't know what I was.
I'm hoping after all this is over, man, like more events like that are gonna surface, like where it's just feel good, everybody's on the same page, like DJs are allowed to just express themselves. Like it's, I don't know, man, I feel like that event, especially in Manny, was probably one of the last of like the dying breed of that kind of like club night.
Yeah, 100%. And why just in Manchester, like I think UK wide, nights like that were genuinely just about the music. Yeah, they definitely are far and few between now.
Yeah, man. I think we were the last one here, and then after that, it's just kind of, I feel like the bar culture just kind of stepped in, and you're either at a warehouse in Manny or you're in the bars.
Yeah.
Like there's no like in between. So
I remember one of the last few times I was in Newcastle, and I can't remember what I was DJing, but I remember the promoter was walking me to the hotel, and I saw this queue, and it was like miles long. That was just people for days lining up, and I was like, "What club is this?" And he was like, "No, they're going bingo." And this bingo night in Newcastle,
what?
Like popping. And I was looking at that. In my head, I was like, and it was like a young crowd as well. That's why in my head I was like, "What club is this? Because like, is someone in town? Like, what's going on?" And he was like bingo. So yeah, maybe that might be the new shout for us.
Flipping heck, bro! Don't say that.
No, you know what? Like, it actually, that isn't a bad prediction, because a couple of the events I've done. So I've done since March, since the first lockdown happened. I've played at 3 different events, all down in Southampton, and every single one of them, bingo has been a core part of the event setup. Because you got to think as well, while we're doing this, like, everyone's sat down. You're all sat at different
it's getting the
tables
interaction, isn't it?
with your friends, and there's no dance floor now. You're not allowed to dance. So it was like the promoters were kind of just, how do we sell the tickets, keep the engagement, and still entertain? Because otherwise you just sat at a table and someone's just playing lit tunes, and you just, what are you going to do? You just sit at a table and drink. Like, it's boring. So yeah, what they did was they implemented bingo into the event, and they made it cool. Like, there was good prizes as well. Do you know what I mean? But everyone there they were all under 30. It wasn't like a older crowd that's come, they don't want to dance anymore. Like, it was all under 30 crowd easily.
Yeah,
like, a lot of young people there.
I think the illusion of bingo being for grannies and granddads is over.
Yeah, it's done.
I'm definitely down to play bingo. If you guys want to line up a bingo night,
Have you played out any of these socially distanced like dances, brunches? Like, have you been out anywhere at all, CJ, since the lockdown's hit? Or
yeah, I've done a couple of things. So there was that weird period in between the first lockdown and the second lockdown, where certain places were open. So I did a couple of brunches, I did a couple of late night things. But again, it's strange because it's like, I left those places thinking, why did you even bother having a DJ here? Because like, the music's low, everyone's sitting around, and it's just a strange. I felt like I was just playing background. I was like, you could have just put on a play. I was happy to do it and just get some money.
Yeah, exactly.
Outside of that, objectively, I was like, did you really need a DJ? Like, it's nice to have one here, but you know, even when you see people kind of get a little bit excited and then want to have a little dance, security around, and they're telling everyone to sit down. It's a weird environment. It's kind of like you want to be out and enjoy yourself because that's what you're coming out to do, but you're just being policed.
Yeah, the last one I done, brother. I was thinking, I don't even know if I ever want to do this again. Like we held a brunch. Me and Fusion did a brunch in Manchester, and like, yeah, we sold it out. We filled all the tables, like good vibe and stuff. But it's just policed. So like, I get the rules and the regulations and stuff, but it's at the point where you may as well not even do it. Like, everyone's kind of just sat down, like to the point you can't even actually stand. You couldn't even stand up in Manny at all. So it's like if you stood up out your seat, it's getting a bit of a slap on the wrist. I just don't know whether I'm built for that kind of future.
I'm glad these events. No, but you know what? I'm glad these events have incorporated DJs though, because it could so easily have just turned into let's just put a playlist on. Well, no one will really notice. We could save money on the DJ list. So I'm kind of glad for these events that they have kept the DJ on, even though like I know some of them are running at lower budgets and whatnot. Like, but it is good because they could have just completely turned their back on the DJ, and I think that's dangerous territory because if they start operating profitable events based around music without a DJ,
yeah,
when things open up again, what's the conversation going to be like? Well, we've been doing this without a DJ. Not only that, if it go, bruv, we might not be DJing again in clubs properly until March at the earliest, in my prediction, right? That's a whole year without a proper club night. Like, now you're introducing a new generation of 18-year-olds and normalizing them with events that don't have a DJ. So why will a club be any different? Do you know what I mean? So I think it's very dangerous ground.
I mean, the reality is that for an event where everyone's sitting down and either eating or just having a conversation, the aspect of having a DJ isn't the same as everyone coming out to congregate and have a party and dance and do their thing and listening to a playlist. Two very different things. A playlist cannot pick up on a vibe. A playlist cannot tell, oh, this person is into that, blah, 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 blah. And that's what a good DJ is all about. It's about reading the room and knowing how to build a night and have these moments where everyone's like, oh, this is incredible. Playlist cannot do that.
Yeah, a playlist can never replicate like the energy of a live DJ set, and like you say, take it like going on that journey and the movement between the records. Like,
so
hopefully it doesn't get to that. Imagine.
Unless you've got the owner of the venue who's completely out of touch and genuinely think that they can save money by just throwing on Spotify. The venues and the promoters who I've worked with are very much about the DJ, so they understand the importance of it. Like, we can never look back at ourselves and say that we're not important. Like, we know what we do, we know why we do what we do, and we see the reaction firsthand. Like, we're on the front line of everything that happens in a festival or a nightclub. So I mean, I don't think we'll ever be undervalued to the point where it's like, hey, we can just throw on a playlist, because you'll very quickly find that your venue's going to get very quiet.
Yeah, real talk. Fingers crossed we're flipping some of these places start opening up soon. Dubl said March, but I'm not I'm not really putting the time on it now. I think I'm just at the point where you just got to kind of roll with the punches.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I did speak to someone who's working at one of the COVID test centers in London, and he was told that specific COVID test center is going to be open until 2023 at the earliest.
Wow. Did you say 2023?
Wow.
Yeah. He said they're going to be active for the next 3 years minimum.
Jesus. Yeah. It's a long way back, my guys.
By the way, I was saying March at the earliest.
Guy said March 2021.
Yeah.
I feel like Dubai have semi got the vibe right with the clubs. They've kind of got the virus semi nailed on. Everyone's kind of sticking to the rules and stuff. But they run till 1 with a DJ, and then at 1 they have to go.
So weird, bro.
At 1 they go to a mixtape till the end of the night.
Yeah, like Jax was
speaking
saying,
to Jax, he was like, "What? I'll slap a mixtape on." He
puts his mix on, and he just has to leave the DJ. But it's so weird, bro.
Well, then he's got like people coming up and like dashing tips at him while he's got his mix on. But it allows the night to. I don't know why the DJ has to stop at 1, but it still allows the night to run.
What's the difference between someone like Jax continuing to DJ
exactly
versus just playing like the music?
Well, that's it. Like if it's his mix, it's technically him still DJing anyway. It's just not live.
So weird.
So, but like you say, what the UK's I think the new regulations are closed. Last orders at 10, everyone out by 11. So then they run till 1, and then run the club till 3 without the live DJ.
It's very strange.
So I don't know.
Strange.
It is weird. Oh, did you go to Dubai at all this year, CJ?
No, I didn't.
No. I just wondered. I genuinely thought there was a point about 2 weeks ago where I genuinely thought I was the only person left in the country. Everyone else was just in Dubai. Everybody.
Yeah, I've seen the influx of people in Dubai. I've actually let my passport run out.
Oh snap! So CJ's not going nowhere anytime soon.
It ran out because in my head I was
deliberately.
Like, it needs to be renewed. I think it runs out in December, but you need like 6 months.
Yeah.
To travel with it, and in my head I was like, I need to get this renewed, but do I bother?
That's going on.
Just wait, because I haven't had anything come in where it's like we need you in this country, so I'm just like, I'll wait.
Yeah, but what if first of all, when the restrictions open up and we can travel again, there's going to be a massive queue of people waiting to renew passports. But secondly, how do you feel about, like, I've heard, obviously these are just rumors and stuff, but people saying like the new influx of passports will be like vaccination certificates, basically. So like there will be a point when they found a vaccine, you can only get the new passport if you have your vaccination certificate.
I mean, well then now, this is the first time I'm hearing that, so I'm going to have to...
No comment.
Get an application in, bro.
I'm going to do it now. But another train of thought was, obviously, we're about to deal with Brexit and the conversation around traveling in Europe post-Brexit is that we're all going to need visas. So for me, I feel like it's great for the European DJs who may now get extra work out of it, because a lot of the guys from the UK, maybe some of the promoters, I don't know how much the visa is going to cost, but apparently it's going to be a visa for anyone traveling into Europe to go and DJ now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, once I had a bit more information around that, I was going to then just, renew it. But if it's vaccine, if that is what is essential now, then I'm definitely going to do it before.
I mean, I'm not going, I've just read an article about it. So what I'm saying is that's not legislation or anything. There's no laws been made yet, but I read an article saying that could be the future of passports. Well, as this generation of passports all renews, there will be a time where you have to have a vaccination certificate to get a new passport.
Yeah, well, I think I read an article on Live Nation. I think they said that they will, once festivals and shows and concerts happen again, you're going to need
entry and stuff,
or a positive result to get in. So
negative result.
It's about to get it's about to get techie, man. The guy said you need a positive result to get in.
Result. You need to get in.
I feel like it's going to get extremely technical, even just for DJs wanting to travel abroad for gigs, especially when all the Brexit thing goes through. I read a load of new regulations that are going to be put into, like, even just going into France or Germany to do a gig will become extremely tough, or there'll be a lot of loopholes you got to kind of jump through just to make it happen.
Do you know how extreme they're doing it? So with I don't know what bits apply to DJs, because the article I was reading on this was for bands and like orchestras, for example. But you need a visa for the person, like a working visa for the person, and you need to pay for a special, like kind of like an import visa for every instrument that would be being used.
Wow.
And every every accessory for the instrument has to be registered and paid for as well. So like, for example, this doesn't apply to DJs, of course, but you know, like trumpet users, they have something that's called a mute that goes in the end of a trumpet. So they're two separate things, but you need them to play certain songs on certain parts of a song. Those will need two different visas because they're two different parts. It's mad, bro. When you look, I can't remember where I saw it now. It's a big article that was listed.
Yeah, I seen the one you're talking about in regards to the orchestras. Got to register every single instrument.
Yeah.
I think that's gonna put people off from traveling for work.
My only question is, who's doing the admin on this? So who's checking that your instrument
this trumpet's not registered?
Verified to say, well, that trumpet's got 7 different pieces, but you've only applied for 3.
6. Yeah.
I guess it's not as technical for DJs, in like, because I just normally roll with a backpack on my laptop most times. So like I think it's just in regards to the actual working relations and getting the work visa and stuff cleared. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm with the European stuff. I'm in a bracket where, with the bookings I take that are overseas, I'm not booked to sell tickets, if that makes sense. No one will buy a ticket because DJ Dubl is on the flyer. So I'm booked, the nights I get booked for are already established nights that just have a rotation of guest DJs that come in, basically. That's how they run. And so what will happen now is, will the promoters look for DJs like me when they now know they've got to pay like €1,000 extra for a visa?
Yeah,
they're going to bother. Let's just look in Germany instead, or in France instead, or Austria instead. Like, let's not bother with the UK guys, because there's so much more hassle bringing them over. That's the concern that I have when it comes to it.
Yeah, it will definitely impact that aspect of it for sure. Because why would you? Because a lot of these places run on a budget, and they're like, well, we've only got X amount of money to spend, and we would love to have you out here. We just can't afford to bring you out, because obviously you got hotel, travel, and now visa on top of it. You start running at a cost that they just can't afford.
Because most times you could cut a deal with these promoters and allow yourself to travel and still do these gigs. Like, I feel like there's going to be a cut off now where even just landing any kind of work like that abroad is going to, like you say, it's not even worth the hassle for them paying out of pocket.
You've also got that time frame of them now having to apply for a visa. It's just extra admin. I don't like doing admin anyway, but if I had to add additional admin on top of it, where it's like, all right, a month before you come out, we need to do visa X, Y, and Z. It's just a long process, man.
Yeah, that is long. Oh dear.
But to answer your question, you're worth it, Dubl. So I'm sure you won't see any impact.
Oh, thank you, man.
Negative booking. We'll get you out regardless of the cost.
CJ, talk to us about your journey from being Bashy's tour DJ to being a One Extra DJ. When did radio start becoming part of your DJ life? Was it through Pirate?
Yeah, I did Pirate. I was always in love with radio before I even thought of getting into it myself. And being in London at the time, Pirate radio was everywhere. And if you're not on legit national radio, then definitely find yourself on Pirate. So I was doing sets from like people's flats, or being on like these very questionable estates, or just being in random places where you're like, there's a studio, like you turn up and you're like, there's a studio here, are you sure about that? And you end up going in and it's just like, there's a little studio. So I started getting my radio experience in Pirate, and again through Bashy. So at the time when I started to DJ for him, he was releasing a lot of music and was building towards releasing his album. So I would always end up doing a lot of interviews at radio. So whenever he was going to radio, I would always just say to him, do you mind if I tag along? Like, yeah, sure.
Right.
So I would go to radio and he'd do the interview, but whilst he's having a conversation he's having, I would just speak to whoever's in the office and just kind of start to build a relationship and network. Oh, and you do, blah, blah, blah. And how does this work? And then I started to find out about, right, not only have you got the presenters and you've got the producers and then you've got the execs, and like basically figuring out the tier systems within, sorry, I said tier, I shouldn't have said tier.
I didn't even clock that then.
So yeah, the hierarchy within radio, and yeah, just started to build relationships off the back of that. So then I started to send them demos and kind of keeping them updated as to what I was doing. But I feel like the real game changer for me when I actually made an impact at just building solid relationships at radio was one day I was like, all right, I need to really get these guys' attention. What do I need to do? I'm going to make a sick demo, which I'm sure if I listen to now would sound like absolute dog shit. But in my head, I was like, all right, I've got this sick demo and I'm going to package it up with like some treats and some goodies. So I went to Tesco and I got like Haribos, and then I just got a whole bunch of goodies that I could throw in this jiffy bag. And
the guy tried to sweeten them up.
Yeah, pretty much. And I had all the producers' details anyway, so I'd like send individual producers my demo, but with this care package. And I remember I went up to Radio 1,
proper.
to Choice at the time, pre-Capital Extra, and just went into reception and just like had like these jiffy bags full of greatness, delivered to them, and then yeah, within 48 hours, I'd already got emails back from producers saying, "Oh my God, thank you! Never seen anything like this before. This is great."
Yes.
Demo. Anyway, off the back of that, a couple of producers checked out. They were like, "Hey, do you want to come in and just kick it and see what's going on?" So anyway, we're back into the radio station this time as me, not with Bashi, which was great because now I'm actually here solely for the purpose of getting into radio. And then I remember I think I did some stuff on Asian Network. I did some stuff on One Extra. I think I had a show called Extra Talent at the time. And then off the back of that, got asked to do another show. I can't remember what it was called, but basically it was like a residency thing where I'd do it once a month. I think it was me, Swindle, and someone else. And I'd agreed to that. I was like, amazing. I get to be on radio. This is awesome. And I think a week before I was supposed to start that show, I got a phone call saying, "Oh, do you want to do the R&B show?" And I was like, "Oh, I thought I was doing that show." They were like, "Nah, we think you could do the R&B show." And I was like,
"Yes,
yeah. I mean, I'd love to do it." I was like, "What? And when do I do that? Once a month again?" They were like, "No, every week, every Monday night, come in and do the R&B show." I was like, "This is amazing." Of course,
that's proper.
So yeah, that was the start of it.
That care package idea is
I was going to say
amazing. How pissed off I am with myself now.
Because this is the thing. See something like that, bro. Like that couple extra yards just makes a difference to just sending in a CD. Like where you're just gonna you got to, like CJ said, you got to stand out from the bunch, man.
That's made my day.
And that must have been a while ago. That right?
That was a while ago.
Not jumping no one's age.
That was Choice FM days. So yeah, whenever that was. Yeah, because I can't remember where the conversation even started, but in my head I was like, yeah, because these guys are going to get inundated with stuff. How do I do something that still tells them that I'm a DJ, and so like obviously I want to be in radio, but how do I just make them remember the fact that you've got my...
So now I know exactly what happened to my demos that I sent into everyone.
In the bin.
They're sat on the desk, and then the guy comes from the lobby upstairs with all these boxes, and he just puts the boxes on the desk on top of my CDs, and he's like, "Here, guys, this guy called CJ just dropped them off." No, that's a sick idea, bruv. Like, that's so simple, but amazing.
Basically, anytime you want to make an impact, it's like, right, how am I going to stand out from the crowd? Like, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but we're in the game we're in is there's a million of us.
100%.
Great DJs, or so we think. Yeah, what's going to make us different? And that's why I don't know whether it's a conscious thing, but even like Martin wearing the fedora hats.
Yeah.
Martin's a DJ and he's got nothing to prove, and he can walk into any venue and they should be lucky to have him walk in. But the fact that he then is now not only a great DJ, oh, that's the guy with the hat.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
got like a calling card outside of what it is that you're
It's like his trade. It's like his trademark.
Yeah, it always helps, man.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, one thing we've always said about you, CJ, when it's come up on the show before, is how you helped put so many DJs on through your show. Like, you see DJs out there that kind of don't really want to be seen to be pegging other people up, or they want to kind of protect like their space or whatever. But like one thing, even for me personally, like you definitely helped put me on. I feel like one thing you brought to your show at One Extra was bringing all your homies through and not being afraid to share the spotlight and help, like, I mean, lift the other people around you in the industry, which I think is super sick, and you don't see enough of that anymore, man. So I just think that's proper, bro.
Have you heard many of the podcasts that we've done? Have you listened to many of them? You can be honest, it's fine. If you've heard none, it's cool.
I've seen clips.
Right. That's fine.
That's a no.
Yeah, that's a
we still love you, bro. We still love you.
That's awkward. But no. So the reason I asked that is we're approaching our 100th episode, right? And I'd say your name has come up in probably 40 of them.
Oh, really?
I agree.
Like with conversations with different DJs, conversations about DJs. And yes, like Stxylo says, the context of it has always been when we're speaking about DJs being insecure and kind of protecting their position and not really letting much in or not opening doors. You've had the complete opposite mentality to that. Because with your One Extra show, bruv, you open the doors for so many people.
I mean, it's nice to hear that. It was never a conscious thing where I was like, I need to. Well, actually, no, I'm lying. It was a conscious thing for me. Doing that wasn't about me getting a One Extra show because of the environment I come from, and I suppose the culture and the relationships that I have. It wasn't just me getting a show. I felt it was us getting a show. So with that mentality, I was like, especially, I mean, having conversations with you, Stylist, I knew how much you wanted to be in radio. And if I could do anything that can take that journey forward for you, even if it's 1%, I'm going to do it because you're a great DJ. And why shouldn't you be on radio? Like, why shouldn't you have an opportunity to tell the world what you do? So, yeah, I always just felt like it was my duty to bring DJs in, especially because again, when I talk about being in a club, we're on the front line of seeing what people react to. As a DJ, it's like I was on the front line of seeing other DJs who were aspiring to level up and do what they were doing. And I just felt like, well, do you know what? Clearly, no one in this establishment is looking at what you guys are doing or is looking at, what, Martin's doing or what, anyone is doing. So if I can just introduce that, if I can just be the guy that says, that guy's sick, they should be on air, that guy's sick, or that girl's sick, bring them on air, then I will happily do that.
I think it was I think it was the R&B takeover where it was like the last hour of your show, I think it was, for like a month. I can't even remember what it was now. But yeah, I remember like you plugged that in for me, and that allowed me to go on and do so many things like within One Extra, whether it was guest mixes or shows and whatever. So like you say, just even that little small bringing just allowed me to kind of spread the wings a little bit. It was extra talent, yeah. That was part of it.
Extra talent residencies, and yeah, my way in was through your show as well, CJ, because you obviously, I think Amy was your producer at the time, right? Yeah. So you obviously have said to her like, Dubl should come and do this, because she contacted me and she was like, CJ has told me to get in touch. Do you want to do this?
Yeah, because I might listen. I'd like to think I always did my homework on what was going on. Obviously, I know everyone's active, and I know like being in a position as well where I'm traveling around the country, I'm seeing, oh, this guy's sick and that person's sick. And yeah, man, I'd always go back and the conversation would come up about, all right, what we're going to do for the show and what else can we do? And I was like, I really want to get DJs, active DJs on the show. Like, one, I know it's going to be great because they're all going to deliver incredible mixes. But at the same time, I'm like, listen, if you guys can get in there and the fact that now you've got Amy's email. So whenever you want to contact One Extra, you've got an in.
Shout out Amy, man. She was a G. Amy's a G. Not spoke to her for years.
She was such a good producer.
Yeah, she was cool, man.
Because after, so I did a round of R&B extra talent, and then she actually hit me up. I think maybe she heard one of my guest mixes, or she might listen to my show on Bang or something. I don't know. But I remember she emailed me. She was like, "Look, we've got another round of extra talent coming up. But instead of doing R&B, I think you'd be better on Semtex's show doing hip hop, because she produced for Sem as well."
Yep.
And then so I didn't do the R&B anymore. I was then doing Semtex's show after him on a Friday. But yeah, she was sick, man. She's a really good producer.
To be fair, everyone that I worked with at the BBC, their intentions were always, listen, how do we kind of bring in more people? Like it was for me personally, it was never a thing of like, oh shit, if I bring that person in, what if they're better than me? Or
I hear
like,
that.
that was never even a thought process. If you were better than me, cool, like so be it. Like for me, if I ever got the inkling that, oh shit, I'm bringing in someone who is trying to step on my toes, it only ever made me want to elevate what I was doing. So like, if you come in and you're great, that benefits me, because it's like, oh shit, I need to be even greater. 100. But I never felt like anyone was ever trying to step on my toes. And if you came in and they were like, do you know what, you might be the guy for the job, cool. Like that's completely out of my control. Like I can't stop your journey because I feel like my journey's ending. That makes sense.
Can you pinpoint anything that's given you that mentality? I feel there's definitely not enough DJs that have that same mentality, because like I was saying earlier, they're very, very protective over their positions, and it is almost an insecurity thing, I think.
I'll tell you what it was, and it was coming up under a generation of DJs that didn't do that. That's what made me feel even more responsible, and it was way more important to do it. So I remember there is a certain generation of DJs in the UK that held on to everything that they could possibly hold on to, and they weren't trying to give you any inkling. So when I'm trying to get in the game and I'm trying to have a conversation, I felt like I'm basically talking to a brick wall. Like you're in a great position and you are where I would like to be. Have you got any advice for me? And it was very standoffish. And this comes from a time where record shops were a thing. If you don't know what record shops are, it's a place where you can go and buy.
Imagine we've actually got to explain that now.
It's like, imagine if DJ City was a real place, an actual building that you had to walk into instead of log on to.
DJ City first started off, it was a record shop. You could go there and buy vinyl.
Right.
So yeah, again, vinyl is this black piece of plastic that you put on a turntable, put a needle on, and it spins 3 or 45 RPM, and it plays a song. So I used to every weekend go into record shops in and around the West End in London, and I would bump into some of these heroes of mine who I'm like, oh shit, you're actually DJing in clubs and you're DJing on the radio, and I just felt trying to have conversations with these guys was so difficult because they weren't trying to give you any information. I would say like, oh, I'm trying to get into radio. Oh, cool. Oh,
good for you.
No, just, keep going. Like, I got nothing from it. So in my head, I was like, I'm ever in a position where I could give someone the opportunity to, even if it's not even to get into radio per se, but just a bit of information that may help their journey, then I'm 100% going to do it. Because I know what it's like to be on the other side when you're trying to get some information.
100%. I hear that. Flipping heck. Do you miss doing radio, CJ?
Do I miss doing radio?
Would you go back into it if the opportunity was there, or is that kind of chain?
If the right opportunity was there.
Because your show was the sickest, bro.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
The way man incorporated the mixing and the new music, and then I remember the CJ's sound check and all the little flicky features, and that show was lit.
Yeah, to be fair, I haven't listened back to any of my shows. I should. I'll be interested to hear like how I sounded, but yeah, I've been offered shows since I've left, and they just for me wasn't. I don't know whether this is a good or a bad thing, but for me, once I've done something, I naturally just want to move
forward. Okay.
So if I feel like I've ticked a box, then unless I can go back and tick a different box, it doesn't really make sense for me to step back into it.
I heard that.
So one of my goals was well, I had a few goals when I first started DJing. One of them was tour with an artist, be a club DJ, and be on radio and travel outside the UK to DJ. So as I was ticking these boxes, my goals and my aspirations then moved on to other things. So yeah, the fact that I was on national radio, and it wasn't just One Extra I was doing Radio 1 stuff at the time as well. So I'm like, this is amazing. And then when that door closed, I was like, all right, cool. Well, I kind of done that now, and then let's move on. And as the time radio was closing, my music production was starting to elevate as well. So it was kind of like my kind of interest just veered into that. So yeah, to answer your question, if a station was to do something that I felt like would be good for me to do, plus it would be different and an elevation of what I was doing, then yeah, maybe I'll be up for the conversation.
Is it safe to say like you're in a completely different bag now with what you're doing with the Wee Wide Awake like production and stuff? Like, are you at a completely different space like musically, or are you still kind of tapped into like the hip hop and then doing this other stuff on the side? Like, where are you at now?
I see everything.
I see everything.
No, to be fair, I've always been into all types of music. So even when they offered me the R&B show on One Extra, I was kind of like, but I'm not just R&B. And obviously I did it because I wanted to be on radio and it was great. But in my head, I was like, but I want to play this, but I can't because that's more of a Semtex thing. Or I want to play this, that's more of a Chrissy Chris thing. Or I want to do this, that's more of a Robert Ranks thing. So in my head, I was always kind of conflicted as, I've got this thing that I really want to do, but I can't do it in this this genre specific show, which I never take anything away from. But again, leaving there was a massive thing where people would be like, oh, you're the R&B guy, you're the next Trevor Nelson.
I was just about to ask you this. See, I was about to say, do you feel like the R&B show pigeonholed you in any way? Because you're a very capable multi-genre DJ, as well as just doing hip hop. Like, I've heard you play outside of the box and do crazy stuff. So like, doing the One Extra thing, do you think, as good a platform as it was for you to be there, did it restrict what you could have done outside the station because people saw you as the R&B guy from One Extra?
I mean, I suppose people would identify me as the R&B guy, but it didn't limit me into what I was doing. So like, when I got booked to a club, it wasn't just to play R&B specifically.
Yeah.
I'd play across the board, and I had great relationships with promoters anyway who would know what they were booking me for. So in terms of like limiting my career path, no, I never felt like it limited me. But me personally, I just didn't ever want to feel like I was in one specific box.
I hear you.
They dropped the ball, man. I'm not gonna lie. That I think. No. I think I said it at the time. Like,
I agree.
All the shows that have ever been cut from One Extra, whoever made that decision, I think, made a mistake. Taking you off air, bro. If I'm perfectly,
I never ever got an explanation or like a real reason why we're doing what we're doing. It was a very vague, hey, we're changing the schedule, and this is just what it is. And over the years, I've spoke to a few people who may have known a bit more than I did at the time, and they give me the same sentiments that you give me and say, we think it was more so this and more so that. I mean, I don't know, but it happened, and I was cool with it. I made peace with it at the time, and I wasn't like, oh man, because I felt like I had way more that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I felt like it was cut short. But then I was like, well, maybe there's a reason why it was cut short. Maybe this isn't the journey I'm supposed to be doing. So maybe it's just forced me into actually doing the journey I'm supposed to be doing. And right now, I just feel like I'm in a way more better creative space, I suppose.
Okay. That's fair.
I've been self-employed for many years now. And not only am I financially good, I'm also creatively great as well. So yeah, I mean, it's all for a reason.
That's good faith to have, man. Like, I would have thrown my toys out the fucking pram. I would have had a paddy for about a year for that. But yeah, no, it's good. It was good to see how, when that journey stopped, you kind of kept your foot on the gas. There wasn't any or from my perspective anyway, there wasn't any downtime. It wasn't like CJ Beatz kind of just disappeared. Like, there have been other 1Xtra presenters, not just 1Xtra, but other national radio presenters whose shows have been cut. Bro, I don't even know if they do anything in music anymore because they just disappeared. Yeah. But from where I look at it is you were already doing Wide Awake, but the 1Xtra journey stopping kind of put fuel in the tank for Wide Awake. Obviously, you must have had time to then do that. And then suddenly you're doing festival bookings and just, yeah, Wide Awake just kind of took off from that. It was great to see you shift the momentum. And
I think part of that again was just trying to get away from the whole R&B thing as well. And it's like, Wide Awake couldn't be as far away from...
I was about to say, he's like literally at the complete opposite end of the spectrum musically.
For me, it's been such an interesting journey because I do feel like I live a dual life and I live in two different worlds. I've got the world that we're in, and this is amazing and great, but I've also got a world in which I've created with Wide Awake where people don't even know me for this world. Like, they literally just know me as, oh, you're CJ from Wide Awake. It's a completely different environment to be in. So for me, I'm always appreciative, and it's just interesting that if you work hard at creating something, it can become something.
How long have you guys been working at the Wide Awake stuff now? That's been...
we released Hackatron, first single in 2014. So
wow.
Yeah.
How did you name that song?
It's Dubl.
Hackatron was named after, I believe, the dance that they do in New Zealand.
The New Zealand, the haka. Yeah.
And the vocal sample in it is from
that
New Zealand haka chant.
Right,
so
okay.
Mad.
I took haka, and I'm also a huge Transformers fan. Megatron, Hackatron, just...
There you go.
I literally, because I remember we did the rough demo of it, and it was like, all right, save, bounce that, I want to hear it in my car. Oh, cool, what should I call it? And I was just, Hackatron. Like, it wasn't even a thing that I really thought of. I was just here, name it as that, and then we'll name it properly later on, and it just kind of stuck, so.
I remember seeing you guys perform at, I think you came to, was it Tiger?
Tiger.
I think you guys came and done a performance in Manny on the Wide Awake and had the pads out and doing all the the beat programming, like even just bringing the creative like flex to what you guys doing with Wide Awake, like that was a dope creative set, man.
Well, I'm glad you appreciate it. For me, at the time, I was just trying to get in as much mileage for Wide Awake as I possibly could. So I was trying to squeeze Wide Awake stuff into CJ Beatz stuff, which I very quickly realized that the two worlds do not coexist.
Okay.
I'd come to certain crowds that they want to hear urban, and then I'm trying to play this really obnoxious, loud dance music, urban stuff, and I could very quickly see that I wasn't even getting the one guy in the corner being like, yeah. I was getting like no one.
He didn't even set up. Oh man, that's harsh.
And no one to be like, yeah, that's sick. Like everyone was just like, why aren't you playing Drake?
Why aren't you playing Drake?
Yeah, so I very quickly realized that the two worlds do not coexist, which is why I just like, fuck it, you know what? Separate the two. This is a very specific Wide Awake thing, or this is a very specific CJ thing. Once in a while, depending on how many drinks I've had, I might delve into the world. But on the whole, I just know that they don't coexist.
I was going to say, was that more of a trial than ever, like learning to run? Because it's essentially like two separate brands in it, but trying to run them at the same time under like obviously you as a person and not crossing the lines.
Yeah, well,
too much.
I realize that maybe my music taste isn't everyone's taste, and the great thing about Wide Awake is that it opened up a whole different door for me, where I'm traveling into like Europe and I'm hearing music and songs that I've never heard before, and for me it's blowing my mind. Like, oh, it's crazy. I just want to incorporate some of this stuff in what I'm doing, but I don't know, if you ever go to a quote-unquote urban night and try and play psytrance, they don't give a shit. As much as I think this is sick, they don't want to hear it. So
yeah, but you know what? We were having this conversation the other day, Sty, when me and you were on the phone, and see about dance music and house music. With those crowds, you could play like an hour of songs they've never heard before, but if the structure is right and the drops are timed right, they're going off to a whole hour's worth of songs that you literally could have just got out of the studio that day and no one has ever heard. But imagine trying doing that with an hour's worth of R&B.
Oh, you won't get through 20. You'll be struggling to get 20 minutes, bro.
Crazy. Yeah, bruv. Yeah, I think 10 minutes in and you've dropped 4 songs that no one's heard before and they're gone.
no, that's like, that. That's the main thing that I really enjoy about doing Wide Awake is that it's the ability to genuinely create and curate something that the crowd has never heard before. But you're right, if it hits the right beats and it
completely fresh,
has the right energy, they don't give a shit. As a matter of fact, they want to hear new stuff. They want to hear stuff they've never. They want to be surprised. So like a lot of the music we play, sometimes we play like an edit of a song that's like everyone knows the vocals, but then it builds into something that you've never heard before, but it's insane and crazy, and it's like you can see the instant reaction of, ooh, this is mad. And then it becomes your calling card, because then people use that as like, oh, you guys, that's your version of that, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So it's encouraged and it's super beneficial to do that. Whereas you're right, if you go into a hip hop and R&B club and you try and do that, they don't hear it.
An R&B crowd, when did they get so stush, man? I'm jealous of your crowds.
I feel like it's probably always been that way.
Yeah, it has, man. Yeah.
And mate, I think because obviously if you think about rap and R&B, it's very vocal based, and like dancehall, not so much. Obviously dancehall comes down to a lot of the beat and the tempo and stuff. But yeah, it's just, you've got to have that familiarity. Mm-hmm. But yeah, with the house.
They don't want to be derailed by the journey of what they think the song is. So when something comes in that isn't what it's supposed to do, then they get upset by it.
Yeah, but it's not like that in house and dance. Or even, I think
they're just more open-minded to the music, bro. Like, it's not like they want to hear their song now this way mixed into this Drake song, or they're getting a little bit agitated. Like, I feel like these house electronic music, like all them genres, that side, I feel like people just have an open mind when it comes to going to the rave and not expected to hear the same 50 songs. Like, I've not been to too many of them. CJ probably knows way more than we do.
I wonder if the drug culture there plays more of a part, or not more of a part, but some of a part of it too, because the drugs are different for that music.
I've seen more drugs in the urban world than I've seen in the dance EDM world.
Really?
100%.
Wow.
There you go. That's that myth scrapped, mate.
Shuts me down then.
Throw that in the bin.
I'll get back in my box. No, it's just, okay, so it's like, it was my perception, because I feel like, and obviously I don't have a huge amount of experience, but I've been to 1 or 2. The big house raves, MDMA seems to be a massive thing. And like a lot of people, okay, I can't say a lot of people, but from what I have seen, it seems to be a lot of people. But I couldn't recount or recall, any time where I know someone's been in a hip hop club and taken MDMA. It doesn't seem to be that kind of drug. Does that make any sense?
Don't know about that.
Manchester's different, mate. Manchester's an anomaly. You lot fucking be ketamine on a Sunday morning.
Behave yourself. This guy. So what's the moves then, CJ? What's the plans after all this settles down? Like, is it just getting stuck into Wide Awake a little bit more? Like, hoping to get back out to the raves?
Yeah, I mean, with the Wide Awake stuff, that's all I've been doing over lockdown, man. It's like, it's great because I've had this immense amount of time where I can actually just sit and experiment and figure some stuff out. There was a rollout plan for earlier on this year, but then COVID hit and it was like, yeah, maybe it's not the right time to do X, Y, and Z. So yeah, just kind of fell back for a minute. Yeah, I don't know, to be fair, until I get some concrete, this is where the world
actually is happening.
So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like at the moment I've got ideas and I've got things that I want to do. But in terms of the time of execution, I don't know. Just depends on when the world is at a state where I think, yeah, we could do this.
Have you been quite content with this lockdown then? I feel like some people have embraced it and just fully gone like gone in with it creatively, and some people are not dealing with it like too well. Like, how have you handled this lockdown in general? Even the last 9 months, it's been a bit of a roller coaster, especially for self-employed people in the music industry.
Yeah. Well, it started off kind of confused and anxious and frustrated just because I had no idea what was going on. I remember one day I woke up and I literally saw my diary just like, it was like, oh, that booking's gone. Oh, that booking's gone. That booking, to the stage where it's like, damn, I don't know if I'm going to get money for like the next few months. And then it's obviously, I think as humans, like you either adapt or you don't. And for me, it was like, all right, cool. Well, this is what it is. I managed to get myself into a daily routine of like, I'm up early, I'm in bed by a certain time, I can work out in the morning. Like, it's great that I've done that. And for a while, I was like, yeah, this is quite nice, actually. I appreciate the time that I have. But yeah, as this is lingering and going on and on and on, I've, within the last month or so, definitely been a lot more ready to get out and just be someone outside of the house, if that makes sense.
100%.
Yeah, makes I can relate, bruv.
I'm quite lucky that I have this little studio escape. Otherwise, I'd be stuck in the house with the missus every day, and that's just, it's not running.
Yeah. It's to have somewhere where you can go and just do something, but at the same time, a lot of my socializing came from DJing as well. And
True talks.
It's upsetting that I haven't been able to see certain people that I would have seen normally, because I don't know, man. For me, there was no better feeling than showing up at a club and, right, cool, I know I'm DJing with this person, that person, and they're great, and we can hang out. But then sometimes I'll be in a club and, oh, randomly that other person comes in just because they're out and about, or someone else is DJing down the road and they've popped in, and vice versa. And you can do a bit of club hopping and just kind of see your mates. So yeah, the biggest thing that's kind of frustrated me is just not having that social aspect. And when I have socialized, it's been more of a planned social event where it's like, hey, we're going to get together and have some dinner. Whereas I kind of like just the random, unplanned nights of just, oh, cool, I'm out, and oh, so-and-so's here, and yeah.
I feel like people don't realize how much of the socializing for us is in clubs, because like during the day and stuff, like I might not move around too many people. Like I'll be busy, but I'll kind of keep my head down a little bit, knowing that in the evenings I'm super active and I'm all over the clubs and bouncing around the city. So yeah, that side of it. But
yeah,
like,
it's even.
I've turned into a loner.
Bro, no, it's right. Even
no,
conversations like, if I'm for my residencies, for example, once the club's done, once the night's over, I'm chilling with the manager for a bit. We're just gonna have a catch up for a half hour, 45 minutes, have a talk after. Do you know what I mean? Just those kind of conversations as well is what I'm missing, and like that is all part of the socializing. Like CJ, you're right, not bouncing around other people's clubs and randomly bumping into people in the clubs is it's a huge thing that's missing.
Yeah.
We'll be back soon, my guys. Don't worry.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
March 2023, I think we've agreed, haven't we?
Well, hey, I'm planning my escape route already. Don't see no improvements in a couple of months, mate. I'm off.
Stylus is going back to Dubai.
Dubai, yeah?
I don't know, man. I don't know. But the missus is still in work full time, so yeah. For now, nothing's happening. But
would you go back to Dubai to DJ and live?
I think I would. You know, like just the climate, the weather. Like there's great output for DJs to be able to get work. Like they pay well. There's an abundance of venues. Like there's venues popping up every day. So I just feel like it's not a bad place to give something a try if the UK doesn't improve or work out. Like especially if we want to carry on like DJing. So we'll see. We'll see, man.
You're not paying tax as well, right?
It's tax free over there. Yeah, no taxes, man.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no taxes in Dubai, bro. Come on.
Right.
You're allowed to keep your own money.
Yeah, the royal family take care of all the taxes, right? So.
Yep. Some crazy stuff over there, but we'll see. We'll see what the future holds. Jack's come on the podcast and sold us a dream. Two weeks later, I was in Dubai.
Jack's 2 weeks later, everyone was in Dubai. Bro. Jack's came on the podcast, told everyone how sick Dubai was, and then suddenly Dubai's just filled up with English people.
Literally, bloody hell.
Yeah,
anyway.
I was on Twitter the other day, and I don't know, it was like the stories of just typical British behaviour.
Yeah.
Bro. To Dubai, I was just like, you can't man.
Can't be trusted anywhere, can we?
No, we were chatting about that in the last episode. The last podcast we did, we were talking about like this Benidorm behavior in Dubai, mate. That's going to see 5 years in prison if you're not careful.
But here's the question, right? Obviously, we're Brits, so we know how we conduct ourselves. And when we hear about other Brits being idiots abroad, you're like, yeah, typical Brit guys. Do other nationalities have the same perception of us that we do of us?
Absolutely, I reckon so. It's the same way that our stereotype of Germans, for example, is if you're in a holiday resort, the Germans are out at 3 a.m. putting their towels
taking up the sunbeds.
See, everyone knows that about German tourists. That's the thing about English tourists, I reckon. Everyone's like, fucking.
I feel like whenever the World Cup comes around or like the Euros, there's always a conversation amongst like the football world about the Brits invading these countries and causing an absolute madness. Like,
yeah,
we're definitely looked at as like as a bad bunch.
No, but I say when it comes to footballs and that, like
hooligans.
Yeah, but I swear some of the Eastern European countries have got some like horrible crowds, so don't they? Like,
yeah,
I don't
definitely not the
football.
worst.
I can't remember the countries, but I think Russia as well. Russia's got some horrible crowds for football.
To answer your question, I think people definitely look at us.
yeah.
like one of the bad apples.
Well, in my head, I thought, well, if we're the only ones that realize we're dickheads, then cool, fair enough. But if the rest of the world, I don't know, because when I go to America, they have no idea about the Brits. Like,
for real?
They genuinely look at Downton Abbey and
the usual tea and biscuits,
tea and crumpet, and it's quite a funny observation. So
yeah,
maybe it's a European thing, man. It must be more over this side of the globe.
I think it is because, again, reaching for stereotypes, but the type of people that go on holiday to America are different from the type of people that go to like Benidorm or Faliraki or any of like the closer summer resorts. It's a different type of holiday, isn't it? Like, see, I don't think many ski resorts get like drunken fighting Brits when the bars and that kick out, because it's a different type of tourist. Same way like the travelers in Thailand and Australia and stuff. I spent a lot of time in Thailand. I've never seen a huge group of outlandish British people.
Well, we exist, unfortunately.
we do exist in abundance.
Before this podcast takes an absolute left turn, mate. Bloody hell. Yo, CJ.
Yo.
Appreciate you coming on, my bro. We've been speaking about you for like 2 years, and we finally got you in. So
finally, CJ has an episode.
Appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to chop it up with us, man.
Well, I appreciate you guys wanting to socialize with me because I don't get to do much of this anymore.
No, that's it. You definitely got to come back. Stylus, your mic's dead.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yo.
There you go.
Sorry, man. I think I've got a dodgy cable.
Definitely
anyway,
dodgy cable.
But yeah, man, CJ, thanks for coming on, my bro. Big love. Yeah, hopefully when we get the events up and running again, we can get you back up to Manny and have a little turn up in that, like old times.
Even if I'm not DJing, bro, I just want to come out and just experience life again.
That's what it is. I just want to be in a club. Yeah. I don't even care if I'm not the DJ. Like,
that's it, bro. I'm finding myself just wanting to go out now. Like, I never used to be like that because you're in the clubs 5 nights a week. I'm not going out on my night off. Now I'm like, oh yeah, I'll go out for a couple of drinks.
The sad thing is that when the gates are finally open, we'll all get an opportunity to go out to the clubs, and we'll literally get there and be like, oh, I could be at home right now. The irony of all of this.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna go now. I'm gonna leave cut early so I can get home. Yeah. Yeah.
Where can the people get you, CJ? You on the socials? Are you active on there? I know you don't really use them too tough, innit? He pops up with a gem of a tweet like once every couple of months.
Yeah, I mean, if I've got something to say, I'll say. Do you know, I do give credit to the people that, because there are certain people that I guarantee that whenever I go on Twitter, they're there consistently. They've got stuff, and I'm like, I admire the fact that you've got so much to say. Yeah. So, once in a while, I'll pop up CJ Beatz with a Z. Here, there, and everywhere.
There we go. Love my guy. All right, dude. All right, guys. Well, yeah, man. Thanks
for coming on, bro.
Appreciate you, man.
Big love. This will be up on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, at TalkOver Pod, on Instagram and Twitter as well. Subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, man.
All right, let's do it.
Back next week for another talk over. Dubl, I've been Stylist, Dubl, CJ Beatz. Love my guys.
Love.